guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if this is your first time here. My name is Megan. I'm a 26-year-old mom to 2 little kiddos. I've got my son Rowan, who's 2, and my daughter Juniper, who's 5 weeks old as I'm filming this. Today we are going to be talking about things people need to stop saying to new parents. I'll give you guys a little tiny backstory on this. I posted an Instagram photo and basically was just saying that the transition from 1 to 2 has been really smooth for us, and Rowan and Juniper are getting along really well, and it was just like a really positive post. And I got bombarded with people in my DMs and in the comments being like, well, just wait until they're both toddlers, it's gonna get so much worse, and being like, oh, wait until Matt goes back to work. And it got me thinking, why are people so negative to new parents? You know, when you're pregnant, all you hear is, oh, sleep now because you're never gonna sleep again, and like, prepare to be miserable for 18 years. That's weird. Like, that's weird, right? So I took to Instagram stories and I asked you guys, what is the least helpful parenting advice or parenting comment you've ever gotten? And I was honestly just curious to see, and when I got the responses, I knew I had to do a video on this because this is insane. Little disclaimer, if you're watching this and you have said one of these things to a parent, I'm not mad at you, I'm not judging you. If you are feeling a little bit defensive, instead of being angry, maybe just take a second to think about it from the other side and think about how you would feel getting this kind of comment in a very new transitional period of life where you might be struggling or you might not be struggling. Yeah, this video is mostly for, you know, other parents to have a little laugh and commiserate together. So hopefully I don't get too many angry people saying, what's wrong with saying XYZ? Y'all came through with the responses as usual, and there were a lot of common threads. So I'm gonna read some of the most common ones and just kind of react to them and talk about why these are not helpful. I think by far the most common response that I got was some version of, stop holding the baby, you're gonna spoil the baby. Don't hold your newborn all the time, you'll spoil her and she'll never wanna be put down. First of all, this is not true. And I think it's mostly older people who were taught this before we had the scientific background to know that developmentally you can't spoil a newborn. You can't really like spoil a baby at all. That's just not how their brains work, and we've been really lucky that our doctor told this to us very early on. It's so bizarre to me that people would try to limit the amount of love and affection you give to your newborn child. Like, where does that come from? Not sure, but it's not helpful. Sleep when the baby sleeps. This was another very common one, and yes, this is the worst advice. Most of the time the baby sleeps, it's like either because you're holding them, in which case you can't sleep, or you're in the car and you're driving, can't sleep. You're taking them on a walk and they're in their stroller, can't sleep. Like, newborn babies don't just sleep nicely in their crib and bassinet all of the time, or even a majority of the time. So sleep when the baby sleeps is like not super practical advice. Also, you need to get stuff done. I know dishes can wait, and I totally agree with that kind of sentiment, but there are things that objectively you need to do. Like, you need to shower. Maybe you have work tasks you need to take care of. Maybe your living environment is so messy that it's stressing you out and affecting your mental health, and the only time you can fix that is when the baby sleeps. So that's why it can be kind of frustrating. As a new parent, it can kind of feel like, oh, thank you for that obvious solution that's not actually gonna work. Why hadn't I thought of that? Another one I got a ton was some variety of, just wait until. If it's going well for you, people will try to scare you. And I'm not sure why. I think maybe it's just them projecting their own negative experiences and like wanting to be like, you know, misery loves company, wanting to be in some kind of like a this sucked club. But when it's going well, you don't want to hear, just wait until you hit the 4-month sleep regression. It's all gonna come crashing down and you're gonna be miserable. Somebody on my Instagram post that I was talking about was actually like basically saying, remember, every phase is different, and just because this phase is good doesn't mean the next one won't be miserable. And it's like, why is that necessary? Now, something that I had 2 very distinct camps on was comments about sleep training. Some of the people were like, to sleep train, it made me go against my maternal instincts. I chose to respond to my baby. And the other half of people were saying that it was really unhelpful when people said that any kind of sleep training causes brain damage, mom shame, etc. I totally get this, and I think that there is not one right answer to this. Sleep training is right for some families and not right for others, and it is a very, I'll say, contentious issue. Like, people have very strong opinions about this, and ultimately, like, you know what's best for your family, so go with your instincts no matter what they're telling you. Other people are just gonna be mad about it. That sucks, but no matter which one you choose, somebody's gonna be upset about it. Oh my gosh, this one's awful. This person said depressed. No, you're not depressed. You simply can't handle 2 kids. That is so terrible. I don't even have anything to say to that. I'm just really sorry somebody said that to you, because postpartum depression is like a very real medical issue. Yikes. Just stop stressing out, or stop stressing about your baby's sleep. You can't control it anyway. Telling anybody to stop stressing out is like never helpful in any situation. I feel the same way with anxiety when people are like, well, just stop worrying. Just stop being anxious. I'm like, oh, I'm cured now. Thanks. Not necessarily advice, but weird body comments. Yes. Why do people think it's okay to comment on your body, like surrounding pregnancy and having a baby and postpartum? Like, you would probably, I hope, not go up to somebody that's not experiencing pregnancy or postpartum and be like, hey, so when are you gonna lose that weight? I really wish that I just had the guts when that happens to be like, that's a weird comment to make. What was your intent with saying that? Would shut somebody up real quick. But it's so hard in social situations to not just kind of be like, oh, and try to be polite. I was told it's a pity I was having a kid since all my education would be wasted. What in the world? Do people not understand that you can be a parent and also do other things? And also that your education might benefit your child in a lot of ways? I have thoughts on that. Baby had a shallow latch and the lactation consultant said my nipples were too big. I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh. I'm not laughing at your pain, but like, what are you supposed to do with that? Like, oh, sorry, let me just shrink them real quick. If you find it so hard to breastfeed, then just stop and switch to formula. And then the opposite of that, like, why are you formula feeding? Breast is best. Both of those completely unhelpful. Something else I thought was really interesting is that I got a lot of responses of people saying that the least helpful advice they got was it only gets harder. And then a lot of people saying the least helpful advice that they got was like, it's beautiful, enjoy every moment. And I definitely have gotten both of these things. I think every baby is so different. And for some people, the newborn stage might be easier. Some people it might be harder. And then the toddler stage is easier. It's just like every family is going to experience something so different. So to try to tell somebody what's coming when you have no idea and they have no idea, it's just impossible. You don't want to make somebody feel guilty for not enjoying every moment. And you also don't want to scare them into thinking that like their life is going to suck whenever the next stage comes. It's also weird because I've heard these two statements from the same person, like in different conversations. And I think that speaks a lot to how multifaceted parenting is, because like, yeah, sometimes it sucks and sometimes it's wonderful. But those two things on their own are very oversimplified. Follow a schedule. Some babies just will not. Rowan was like this. He would not follow a schedule. Juniper like put herself on a schedule super early. She's super consistent like with when she feeds every day and when she naps. And if you have a baby that doesn't want to be on a schedule, like nothing that you can do is gonna make them go on a schedule, in my opinion. Sleep while you can because you won't get any later. This is so not true. I've said this before, but I sleep way better in the newborn stage than I do in the last trimester of pregnancy. People scared the crap out of me thinking that I was not going to get any sleep in the newborn stage, and it ended up not being true because I'm just like so much more comfortable. I'm not getting up to pee a million times. Like, yes, I'm getting up to feed the baby, but then, you know, with Juniper, like she goes back to sleep and I can go back to sleep. Fear not if you're in your third trimester and wondering how it possibly gets worse. It may not. Anything that minimizes the fact that I'm struggling in the moment. That's not so bad, etc. I'm sorry. That stinks. I hope that you have a safe person you can talk to who validates your emotions, because it is so much more helpful to hear, that sucks, I'm sorry, than to hear, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. It'll get better. Rah, rah, rah. In the hardest part of the pandemic, people said, go out before baby. Everything was closed and scary. Like, just go do XYZ. And I'm like, literally nothing is open because it's illegal for non-essential businesses to be open. Someone told me to enjoy my marriage while I still had it during my pregnancy. What? Wow, I'm sorry that they had that experience, but like a lot of people's marriages are better once they have kids. I'm like, yeah, it's a struggle in the beginning. Maybe for some people it gets worse. I don't know. For a lot of people it gets better. But that's just like a super negative thing to say. Put them down drowsy but awake. Rowan would absolutely not. And all of the sleep advice I read, like I was scouring the internet to try to find a way to get him to nap. And that is the same now triggering phrase that I heard all the time, was like drowsy but awake, drowsy but awake, drowsy but awake. Some babies will absolutely not It'll go by so quickly. Duh. Yeah, it is a little bit duh, isn't it? I cannot believe how many of these are about spoiling the baby by holding them so much. So many. So many. It takes a village when there's no village and nobody is offering me help. Oh, that breaks my heart. I'm so sorry. That stinks so badly. That reminds me of the Elise Myers TikTok audio where she's like, wow, you're amazing. I can't believe you're doing all of this, like super mom, and you're not even tired. And then it's like her, like, bedraggled in the bed being like, no, I'm drowning. I need help. And the other person just being like, go super mom. Keep them up all day so they'll sleep all night. So untrue. That's not going to work out well because then they're going to be overtired and then they won't sleep at all and they'll be screaming and everyone will be miserable. That I won't have time for myself anymore. Yes, this is a huge like mom myth that moms never have time for themselves. And I know that like that is true objectively to some extent, like you don't have as much time, but you have to prioritize time for yourself. And one thing that really freaked me out when I was pregnant with Rowan is everybody saying that I like wouldn't have time to shower for days on end. And not showering or like having greasy hair makes me so anxious. And so I told Matt, I was like, hey, one thing I really want help with postpartum is prioritizing me being able to shower at least every other day. And he was super helpful with that and I was able to do it. So like, yeah, maybe you're not going to have time for like full on spa days and going to get mani-pedis every week, but there is a way to create some self-care time for yourself, hopefully, especially if you have a good support system. She should be walking by now. She should be eating solids by now. She is spoiled, etc. I am so glad that the AAP changed their like timing for milestones to push everything a little bit later because some babies do take longer to do things and that can be totally normal. So people saying that your baby should be doing something by now, which can really freak you out if you're worried about them developmentally, just not helpful. We're going to end off with this gem. Don't get gestational diabetes as if it's a choice. I'm sorry that people are the worst sometimes. I do want to say, you know, for every negative comment you get, hopefully you are getting lots of nice, kind, supportive comments from family and friends. And I don't want this to come off as overly negative. But I also think that it can be fun to just like sit and commiserate a little bit with each other and laugh over the outrageous things that have been said to us. Because yes, parenting can be really hard and parenting can be really wonderful. But somebody imposing their experience or opinion on you is never helpful. So that's going to be it for this video. Thank you guys for the laugh. Thank you for sharing the awful opinions that have been given to you. I hope that you found this video semi-helpful and that it made you feel like you weren't alone if this has also happened to you. I think everybody's journey is their own and I hope that whatever season you're in, you're enjoying it a little bit and cutting yourself some slack when you're not enjoying it so much. I love you guys so much. I'm so thankful to have you guys in my corner and that we all have this community. Thank you for watching and I can't wait to see you all in my next video. Bye!